Hello, Aluxers. What if we told you that right now you have it better than you're ever going to have it for the remainder of your life, at least from a few different perspectives? This is a great opportunity for you to realize where you are in your life right now and just how much of a massive competitive advantage you have. Life might seem like it's getting more difficult by the day, but you know what we say? Every time life gets harder, it means you've leveled up. Welcome to Alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. If you're not subscribed yet, you're missing out. So let's level up your knowledge by talking about the 15 things that get harder as we grow older. Number 1, taking risks. When you're old, you don't want to take risks. Risk means you're willing to lose what you already have. This is an asymmetrical benefit for everyone who's super young, for apart from time, you don't have much to lose. The older you get, the less risk you want in your life. Ideally, you want to take the risk when you're young and reap the benefits of your courage later on in life. Or, in cooler words, eat for a couple of years so you can eat caviar for the rest of your life. Number 2, starting over. Who wants to start over when you're 75? We're not gonna say it isn't possible, but it's gonna be a lot harder than bouncing back from a poorly chosen major in college. Starting over is something you get to do a limited number of times in your life, for the cost of it is measured in time invested. You can start over, but be careful of how many bullets you got left in the chamber. The good thing is, in order to become someone else, you need to leave behind the version you were. The paradox is, the more you wait, the more you have to leave behind, and it's the same with poker. Sometimes you've already put too much of your pot in a hand and you're not willing to let go. Number 3, putting up with bullshit. Oh, hell nah. It's hard for our generation to do it now while we're still young. Can you imagine being old and having to be faced with bullshit? As a matter of fact, maybe that's why most old people are grumpy all the time, because when you live that long, everything seems like a bunch of BS to you. Experience teaches you how to notice BS when it's happening. You learn how to read it in people. This serves you well while your spidey senses are still tingling, but at some point you most likely lose this ability, which turns old folks into either paranoid individuals or scam victims. And speaking of scams, there are people in the comments pretending to be us using our logo and telling you to hit them up on WhatsApp, like any of you smart folks would ever fall for that. Do us all a favor and report them when you see them. Number 4, making friends as an adult. We feel like most men make 2 to 3 friends while pursuing their education and stick with them until the end of days. While that's commendable in a sense, your ability to make new friends as you evolve through life is one of the little pleasures of the universe. As you grow older, it's harder to meet new people that you don't work with or live next to. Anyone who's lived long enough knows the importance of having the right people around you. Here's how you should think about this. The best time to make friends is before you need them. Number 5, connecting with your children on an emotional level. We're gonna be vulnerable with you guys because we're certain many of you are going through a similar situation. Plenty of people on our team have noticed that they find it hard to have a relationship with at least one of their parents, and this is why. As you grow as an individual, the world changes alongside you, but the parents aren't upgrading at the same rate as you are. They use their parents as a benchmark and grade themselves as satisfactory without taking into account the relationship they have with you. They've been your parent for so long now that the parent-child control mechanism is no longer in place. The playing field has been leveled, and you have to hit it off with one another on a human level. What we found in our research is that most parents in our generation have the emotional intelligence of an apricot. They never learned how to build a real relationship, and they simply don't know how to communicate and connect with you. To some degree, they almost feel threatened by you, so their defense mechanism is to become offensive, which doesn't help anybody. If you want a relationship with your child, you need to treat them appropriately to the age and period they're in their life, and in exchange, you'll have a genuine relationship. The older you get, the tougher it is to realize that you're trying to keep things like they were in the past because acknowledging the progress makes you face your own mortality. Damn, that got deep real fast, and if you felt that, hit the like button because you know it came from the heart. Number 6. Getting in shape and losing weight. Metabolism is quite a pain in the behind. You might not know this, but studies show that on average, our metabolism slows down by 10% every decade after we hit 20. So by the time you hit 50 years old, your body's ability to break down and process food has slowed down by a third. People build routines that they keep for decades, only to realize that what worked for them all right in their 20s is no longer the case in their 30s. Everyone who's done any heavy drinking recently can confirm this. There's one golden rule to remember in life. It's easier to stay in shape than to get in shape. So this is your wake-up call to take advantage of this moment in your life when it's fairly easy to lose weight and get in shape rather than trying to do it later. Number 7. Tolerance to change in environment. If we were to look for a common narrative throughout this piece, it's that old people generally oppose change in almost all shapes and sizes. Just leave everything as it is because it makes them comfortable. Unfortunately, the world is being built for those who are coming, not for those who are leaving, mostly because the lifetime consumer value is higher with youths. This is also why old people don't care about exploring anymore. They'd rather revisit the same places, stay at the same hotels, eat the same meals, and drink the same drinks. When you've spent your whole life figuring out what you want, you simply don't feel like trying new things. Number 8. Blowing through money. The older you get, the more conservative you become, or at least that's what the theory says, and it makes sense. When you're young, you're eager to fill the holes poverty has left in you and buy yourself the things you've always wanted but never had. On top of that, you realize you're at the beginning stages of your journey, so there's more time ahead of you to earn more money. When you're old, you're not impressed by kids flexing on Instagram. You don't need an even bigger TV or a newer car. You might obsessively purchase teleshopping items though, but we'll save that for another video. Number 9. Trusting others to make the right decision for you. The older you get, the more you think everyone wants to take the little money you have away from you. This leads to your decisions being driven by paranoia. You think that everyone is incompetent because they didn't live as long as you have. We're willing to bet that every one of you has one difficult grandparent that's coming to mind right now who's making life a living hell for their kids. Old people don't put money in the bank, they hide it in cookie jars and in pillowcases, just so they can be sure it's still there in the morning and there's no way they'll ever pay with a credit card. Number 10. Learning new things. We've got this saying that goes like this: the moment you stop learning, that's the moment you start dying. Learning is tied to our ability to discover more of the world around us. It keeps us engaged and seeking for more. The older you get, the harder it is to store new information, especially if you have an untrained memory. Learning how to learn is by far the most valuable skill anyone can have. Couple that with your ability to effectively process, store, and retrieve information, and you become superhuman in your ability. Learning how to learn is something we've been obsessed with since the beginning, and we're so excited to let you know that on the back end, we've been working on a little something called Learning Mastery. It's the ultimate experience on what it takes to learn how to learn. No more forgetting valuable information. This will dramatically improve your reading speed and ability to process and make decisions, coupled with extensive research on how the brain works. Learning Mastery will be the secret weapon for entrepreneurs, students, creatives, and anyone who's looking to absorb as much value as possible in the shortest time span. Go to Alux.com and make sure you're on the waiting list, and we'll let you know when it goes live. Also, there'll be a reward for those of you who are on the email list before the launch, so make sure to go to LearnLikeAlux.com right now. Number 11. Your decisions haunt you. How many of you remember an embarrassing moment from your childhood? To this day, you replay that moment over and over again in your mind. Well, when you get older, all those questionable decisions are stuck on replay, and there's more of them. You begin to question everything you've done. Maybe you should have chosen a different career, married someone else, traveled more, stood up for yourself more. The good thing is, based on our channel analytics, you're not at that stage yet, so be careful with the choices you make today, because it will get harder to live with the wrong ones as you grow older. Number 12. You start to understand the cost of opportunity. Speaking of choices, the cost of opportunity hits differently when you're old because you've already seen the way all your moves played out. Whenever you say yes to something, you're actually saying no to everything else. In a long enough time frame, you can see that those moments when you chose the short-term results against the long-term investment are what actually held you back from being the person you were destined to become. Number 13. Changing your views. So let's just say you've spent all your years going through life in order to figure out who you are and get yourself a set of values. Then society changes so dramatically that your outdated mindset no longer fits in. Are you open to move into the future, or will you retreat into your cocoon of the past? We're all the sum of our lived experiences. The older generation grew up disconnected, indoctrinated, and forced to think and behave in certain ways that their parents believed would keep them safe in the world. But you see, the world wasn't discovered by those who stayed safely on the shore where it was comfortable. It was pushed forward by those who ventured into the unknown. Number 14. Understanding technology and the new generation. This is one of the biggest fears we have, that someday technology will jump so quickly ahead that we'll fail to keep up. We only hope that we'll be able to embrace it for as long as we can. When's the last time you tried explaining to your Mima what you do for a living? Our parents barely get it. This disconnect in terms of ability to absorb, consume, and distribute information has created one of the largest cognitive gaps between generations. 12-year-old kids know more about the world than our grandparents do. They might not know history, but they sure as hell know how to Google any answer you need. Number 15. Accepting the fact that you're gonna die. When you're young, dying is something you rarely think about. I mean, it might pop up now and then, but it's not some dark cloud glooming over you. With age, you start to see it happen to your peers, to people you've known. This triggers certain parts of your brain that make you deal with your mortality differently. It's the same part that tells you it's time to have a kid because your best friend had one. One of the biggest shames in the world is that almost everyone old would love to be young again and go through life once more. The best advice we've got from Gary Vee is this: remember, you're going to die. It's probably the biggest wake-up call we've ever had to stop wasting time on bullshit and do what we feel we were meant to do. So yeah, unless the AI revolution picks up some speed, you're going to die, so make sure you live your life in a way that you're going to be proud to look back on. This piece right here is a conversation, so it's time you joined in. What part of growing old do you fear the most? Let us know in the comments. Now, for those of you still watching, we have a very different bonus for you today. Making money is one of the easiest things in the world. Exactly 1 year ago, we did a private interview-like talk with John McAfee that we never got to publish because he was still on the run. In it, he and our CEO, Mr. Emil Anton, talked about life, money, crypto, and choices. Honestly, the interview goes all over the place, but there are some gold nuggets in there, so we're going to share one of them with you today. If this video gets to 30,000 likes, maybe we'll release the full thing at some point. Here you go.
Have you always had this eye for spotting opportunity? Because you said earlier you are able to always make money because making money isn't as difficult as people think.
It's the easiest thing in the world, people. Here's how you make money. It requires two things. Courage. I mean, the most extreme courage you've ever fucking imagined. I mean, you have to be willing to risk everything you've ever loved, your wife, your car, your house, your kids, your job, your neighbors, your friends. If you're not willing to risk all that shit, forget it. Making money is going to be very fucking difficult for you. But making money is the easiest of all things. But you know what the most difficult is? Keeping money. Any idiot can make $1 million, but very few can keep $1 million. Because if you got $1 million, then every parasite in the universe wants a piece of it.